Hey, what's up? I see a couple people are joining in already. Welcome, Doug Cunnington here, and we're going to get started in a few minutes. I'm just putting up another couple lights to make sure it's really bright in here. Hopefully, you can hear me, and you can let me know in the chat. So if you're just joining up, welcome. Please let me know in the chat if you could hear me. I will get started in just a second. Again, Doug Cunnington here from Niche Site Project, and I'm just setting up some lights so it'll be really damn bright. Right, Mike, what's up? Thanks for hopping on today. Let me know where you're from, by the way, if it's the first time you're joining one of these live webinars. I'm interested to hear. Blake's on, what's up? Good to have you on. Thanks for taking the time today. Alikesh, what's up? Mike from Mississippi. Octavian from Romania. Awesome. We have a lot of places represented today. Chuck from Kentucky. Gabriel, first time live. Yeah, let me know if it's the first time you're live. Gabriel from Nigeria. And I got my other light set up, so we should be good to go. This is the SEO plan for niche sites. It works for authority sites and, other stuff like that. And I could go ahead and stop sharing and get rid of the whiteboard so you can see me. I may as well take up the space right now. So welcome, everyone. Going to be talking about an SEO plan for niche sites. One of the biggest issues people do have with niche sites is getting traffic to it. So there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, and this is just one of them. Mike's asking if it's snowing in Montana. There is not any snow coming down right now. It's a little overcast. There's snow in the mountains. So there's definitely snow in the mountains. We got a couple flurries yesterday, which is cool overall. And going down to the Grand Tetons here coming up soon, which is south of Yellowstone National Park. Many people have probably seen pictures of the Tetons. They are awesome. We're going to go hang out down in Jackson, Wyoming. So Caesar's from Spain. We have Marty from London. And yeah, cool. So we got a handful of folks on. We'll get started in a few minutes. We're still technically a few minutes ahead of schedule, which is rare because a lot of times, I'll be honest with you, I run into this room. And then I'm like, okay, I gotta log on. It takes a couple seconds to do all the webinar stuff and get everything all lined up. And it's like 2-3 minutes late. So I actually got here early today and had some lights set up. You'll see it's very bright over here. It takes a lot of work, by the way, to get this to shine just in the right way. So you can see that it's shiny, but it's not too much. Okay, so I don't know how many bald folks we have out there, but it's an art, and I hope you appreciate the time I put in polishing this head. Okay, Jack's from Hong Kong. I'm kidding, of course. I didn't polish it at all. It's just a natural glow. So every now and then people ask me about the coffee mug here, so I'll just show it. I know we have a few people new. Anybody watch The Office? The U.S. version of The Office. This mug here was a gift from my sister and brother-in-law, and I would hold it closer, but I don't want to hold a full cup of coffee over the laptop. Seems like a dumb move. So yeah, if you watch The Office, you'll remember this episode from I think it was like season 3-ish. Gosh, I can't remember. It may have been season 2, but anyway, a lot of the people on the episode have their face on mugs here, and I won't go and try to explain the episode. But it's not just a vanity mug, even though my face is on it. So, and Blake has seen the show, so thanks for the validation. Yeah, it's pretty funny. My wife has one too, so we drink out of our own mugs. All right, so we are at 10:01, so I expect a flurry of more people to join up here. And one thing I just noticed that looks like I need to stop syncing my Google Drive here, or else that could hurt bandwidth just a tad. Okay, so if you're just joining up, this is the SEO plan for niche and authority sites. So it really works for both. The plan I'm going to lay out, I do give you options, right? So there are some pure white hat options, or some gray hat options in here too. I'll explain certain areas and when to do certain things. There's going to be, a full-on Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, please do ask. It is super helpful. I'll mention this a couple times. It's super helpful if you mark your questions as a question. I'll show you how to do that later. And, like I said, you could ask, whatever you want as we're going through. And if you mark it as a question, it'll be pretty easy for me to go back and answer the questions for you. As I'm doing the presentation, I'll do my best to, stick to the presentation versus answering questions along the way, just to keep the flow and make sure I don't go on a tangent, which I may do. Now, the other part, hey, what's up, Dimitri? Good to have you on. The other part around the presentation is, like I said, you do have options with SEO, and you sort of have to pace yourself, right? There's a lot of things that you can do, and there's a lot of things that you should do, and a lot of things you could kind of ignore. So you may have heard of, certain areas that you have to, do social media and really get links from, as many social media areas as you can. And, some of those things may help like an incremental amount, but, we're trying to do some really effective stuff where you get a good bang for your buck, basically. So I'll explain some of that stuff, but feel free as we're going through it or in the Q&A, you could ask about things that you've heard about, and I could tell you my opinion, right? So all this is based on my opinion. I'll also emphasize that as we get started. So, okay, and I'll hang on. I'm going to ad-lib just a bit for another minute or so, again, to allow people to join up. If you are just joining in, by the way, welcome. I'm Doug Cunnington from Niche Site Project, and this is the SEO plan for niche and authority sites. So we're going to cover some stuff today. I'm going to aim to, finish the presentation at around 11, maybe a few minutes early if I can, to allow plenty of time for Q&A. People do, like to ask questions. So with any luck, my lights are going to stay bright, and maybe the sun is not going to shine in my face, so everything will be going nicely here. So quick, I'll tell you a little about my day so far. So I'm putting a lot of effort into YouTube right now, and I'm starting to reach out and do like some interviews and collaborations with other people and like other YouTubers that are, thankfully they are larger than me in the YouTube like ecosystem. So I talked to someone this morning who's living in Rome, digital nomad. She's doing really awesome on YouTube, and it's really an inspiring story because she has like she has two published books. One of them was self-published, and one of them is like a real print book that like launched yesterday. And 2 days ago. So she's doing really well. She has another book coming out in January, but it's so inspiring because she moved to, Rome from Canada. She didn't have like a huge amount of savings. She's not getting like sponsorship from her parents or anything like that, but she went over as a digital nomad with like 2 freelance clients doing digital marketing work for them. And she's picked up a couple other clients, and she got the book deal, and super cool, all in under 2 years. So, she didn't even have like a huge amount of savings to, work off of. She just went over and did it. So that's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive, like by any stretch of the imagination. And the fact that she like landed a book deal out of it is fantastic. So, okay, cool. Let's do it. We have several people on. If you're just joining up, Doug Cunnington here from Niche Site Project. We're going to get into the presentation, which is SEO for niche sites. And really it's a plan. I'm going to outline a plan for you. And I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And I think I should go down to the corner with my little video here. Perfect, perfect. And I'm going to get rid of the bookmark bar just to give us a little more real estate. So if excuse me, if you are joining up, got really excited and talked over myself there. So if it's your first time on one of these webinars or live streams, let me know. I'm interested to hear. And by the way, I think I have a couple questions throughout. So when I ask them, you can just answer back in the chat and I'll, see it there. And quick note, as we are getting rolling, if the audio freezes, if the video freezes or something like that, just refresh it. Also let me know in the chat, but usually if you refresh it, it should come back and it should start working. A lot of times if you mention it in the chat, other people will say, hey, it's fine. Or if I see like everyone can't see it, then I know there's a problem. But most of the time, a refresh will work. Okay, I already did the sound check, but I always put this slide in here just to be sure. Here's a quote. So all generalizations are false, including this one. That's a Mark Twain quote, at least I believe it's Mark Twain. And I put that in here because I'm telling you an SEO plan that is generalized. This is basically a plan that you can use, an approach that you can use, but there's a lot of generalizations made. And I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. I'm saying this is a way to do it. And there are dozens of other ways. Many other people have completely different focuses, and you know what, their ways are valid too. I haven't tested everything. I'm just telling you what I've done in the past. And I will mention that, I said it before, there are some gray hats techniques that I'm going to mention here. I don't use them, by the way, and I'll point them out specifically. However, I do know that they can work, and I have friends and peers that are using these gray hat methods with great success, and it's a valid thing to do. It's just not my it's not my preference. So as I mentioned, I'm Doug Cunnington. I'm the founder of Niche Site Project, which is an internet marketing blog, and I've been blogging there for about 4 years. And that is a picture of my dad and I and my late dog Brody there at Yellowstone. Obviously, we're at the Old Faithful Geyser, which is, I think, like from door to, the boardwalk there, it's maybe like 2.5, 3 hours. So I live really close to Yellowstone, which is awesome. It's a great, great place. So past track record, which I only mention this because a lot of people give advice that just regurgitate stuff. But I do have a past track record. I've had successful niche sites. I've had ups and downs. I've coached a lot of other people. I've done guest blogging talking about internet marketing in different areas, which I focus in. And I'm a PMP, which is a project management professional. So I do internet marketing full-time at this point. I have been doing it full-time for 2 years, but before that, I had about 10 years of experience as a corporate, or as a corporate drone, really, but I was a project manager for software companies. I did management consulting and all that sort of corporate-y stuff. So it's an unusual, I think, an unusual skill set that I bring to the table. And I have been featured on many places. I won't read them all out, but I'm sure you recognize some of them. And I was mentioned by Derek on Social Triggers most recently. So I always put this timeline in. Part of the reason is a reminder for myself. So I've had ups and downs. Like there were some rocky points for sure. And the thing is, I got a fast start, back in the day in 2013. You could start a new site and you could rank it within 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months or so, like #1 for like really competitive terms. And you'll notice this roller coaster ride where, my rankings dropped and my sites were penalized, and I launched a bunch of more sites and they were penalized too. And then, like I said, 2 years ago, 2015, I got laid off from my job after I'd worked there for like 9 years, and things started to turn around at that point. Of course, you see it's a low point here. intentionally. And most recently, sort of this mark here, up here, I sold a site with a business partner and myself. We sold a site for $235, which was really cool. It seems like just unreal considering where we started from. So I've had the ups and downs. So part of the reason I don't use the gray hat stuff is because of this timeline here. Like I said, Q&A is at the end. Feel free to ask questions throughout. You can, ask questions like Blake did here. And thank you for noting it as a question. So I think the layout may have changed just a tad, but the idea is you can use the, the form there, the drop down next to the chat area, the chat field, and then you can mark it as a question. It makes it much easier for me, especially at the end. So quick note, why niche sites? Why should you be interested in niche sites if you don't have a site yet? So in quick question, while I'm talking about this, how many people have a niche site right now? Just say, yeah, I have one right now, and let me know in the chat. And if you don't, say no, but I'm thinking about it, or kind of where you're at. That'll help me shape the presentation for, as best I can for the unique audience that we have today. So why niche sites? For me, it's like one of the, best ways to get started. The reason why is the startup costs are low. The concepts are simple in theory, and none of the steps are really like super complicated. It's just putting together a string of, simple tasks in the right order over a period of time. You get the benefit of compound interest, working on a long-term project, slowly, improving over time. And the other part is you build skills in various areas, right? So you can focus on the SEO portion of it. You could focus on white hat SEO, gray hat SEO. You could focus on the content. Maybe you find that, because when I got started, by the way, I didn't know anything about WordPress, making money online, niche sites, or anything. So maybe you're in the same position. You start playing around with WordPress and you realize you really like designing websites and working with themes and helping people do that. So niche sites may not be like the end of the road for you or your, path to working for yourself, but you can learn a lot of skills from working on niche sites that, maybe you just stick with that web design stuff and you're a web design consultant or freelancer, and you could take that. And there are many areas. I mean, you could end up being a copywriter. You could end up being an email marketer in general. So I'll leave it at that, but it's a great place to learn the ropes overall. Like I said, you can get the design aspect, you can learn SEO, you can just like learn a bunch about marketing, which is one thing that happened to me. And, some people turn into like domain flippers, right? It's a simple concept of buying a domain and hanging on to it until someone wants to buy it from you. So there are many places to go with niche sites, and, I'll leave it at that. So a couple of examples of like how niche sites could work. Everyone may recognize some of the folks I'm going to mention here, but Dave Fox, I coached him back in early 2015 through mid 2015, and he slowly grew his site from I think that was about $1,000 or $1,500 or so in January of 2016 to, well, I can't see that very well, but it looks like about $6,000 in December of 2016, and he's consistently making between like 5,000 and 7,000 or so. I haven't checked with him lately, but this stuff basically changed his life. He was a musician. He's still a musician, but he would do some music teaching. He's a drummer, guitarist, and I think he paints too. So he's an artist all around. But he, through a ton of hard work and coaching with me, he was able to put together basically a new career for himself. Okay. So I see I'm going to take a quick break and look over at the chat. So several people do have sites. Caesar, Chuck, Paul, Bobby, Shant, we have Brett, Brent is just thinking about it right now. Mike has a site. Alakash has a site. Shade, not right now. And okay, so it sounds like a lot of people do have sites, at least with a few posts. I see Gabriel just has one site. Audrey, you want to get started right away. And Randy, let's see. Cool. So it sounds like everyone is getting right into it. Either you have a site or it's been up for a while, and there's a handful of people that don't. So that's cool. It's very exciting for everyone for sure. And then other example is Rob. So I coached, actually I met Rob way back in the day. He was a reader of Niche Site Project. He just shot me an email, and this was like back in mid 2014. I could tell he was doing well, and we formed a mastermind group. So we formed a mastermind group with one other person, and through the years, Rob and I have been in mastermind groups in some form or another, but there was a point where I could tell he needed some systems set up. He needed help with templates and basically areas where my project management experience would really help. So I coached him through about 5 or 6 sessions, and these are all on YouTube, by the way. So I think if you're on the email list, you should get links to these hidden videos. But Rob last year in 2016 made $223,000 just from Amazon. Okay, so just from Amazon, and he has other affiliate programs that he's part of. So Rob's doing really well. So we could see Rob's doing really well, and like I said, he and I were business partners. We sold a site earlier this year, and that was a good thing too. So let's get into it. This is the SEO plan for niche sites. It works for authority sites too, which, by the way, that's just semantics. So some people call them authority sites, some people call them niche sites. Okay. So link building is a game of incremental gains. And again, this is an idea of compound interest where 1% over time really adds up. And I'm not saying these tactics in here will give you like a 1% gain every time you do something, but you have to look at it that way. You can't just do a bunch of work in, a month and then expect it to just magically work out for you. This is a grind. This is not easy. So there's nothing hard though. There isn't anything like super complicated. It's just showing up more days than you don't show up and doing the work. Okay. There's a lot of text on this slide. I tried not to do that too much, but this is just the overview. We're going to go over social profiles, internal linking, blog commenting, guest posting, Web 2.0 blogs, PBNs is private blog networks. Those two are gray hat, by the way. And next, and kind of a bonus, I'm going to throw this in, is scholarship outreach. I'm going to talk about that a little bit because it's popularized a lot in the last probably like 18 months or so. First, we'll get into social profiles. So basically, these are things you could set up probably in like an hour, right? This should take you like a day. When you're launching your site, you should get right into it and on like day 1 or day 2. If you haven't done this yet, it's okay because you can go do it very quickly. Now, the caveat is these are going to be no follow links. So you're not going to be able to like put these up, like put these links up in your social profile and then like rank number 1 for anything. Okay. These are no follow and they're basically the links that anyone can get. But here's the reason why you want these links. They come into play later. They give your site a look of authenticity and it just makes your brand seem more authentic, your website seem more authentic, which is key because when we talk about blog commenting and guest posting, you want to have a presence online, and these social profiles give you that. Now, the key thing to do, don't forget, you need to add your link to the profile, okay? If you don't add your link to the profile, then you don't, get that no follow link, but it shows like attention to detail. If there are, areas where you need to fill out like your specific details on your site or what your site's about, fill those out, right? fill in the description, and make it complete. Make it look like a real profile, because it is a real profile, so treat it like one. Next is internal linking. So this area has shifted over the years a little bit. So you'll see I have silos on here as a reminder. If some people have heard of silos, this is sort of a throwback to that idea. So silos were a way to like structure a site in a very formal way. You'll see this on like e-commerce sites quite a lot. I can't think of very many off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure like Lowe's, the hardware store, pretty sure they have like a pretty tight pretty tight like silo structure. The thing is, the silo structure doesn't get you the same kind of boost as you used to be able to get. And it could be nice to have like some loose silo structure, but to me, there's too much planning required. And I note it here, like it requires a lot of planning ahead of time, and you have to think about your site architecture, which is not an easy thing, right? So if you're trying to plan out your site for like 6 or 12 or 18 months and all the content you're going to add and how you're going to organize it, well, that's a lot of assumptions that you have to make, which could change over time, basically creating work that you don't need to do, and it's not that important. So what you want to do is, use the ideas of a silo structure while avoiding the sort of planning and, rigorous linking that you have to do with a silo structure. And I noted it here. I'm going to show you a link in a second where you can like read more about the silo structure to get the basic idea of what's going on. Now, I put it in graphic form here because it's a little easier to see. So you have your home page, and then again, this is the silo, but you don't have to form your sites like this. In WordPress, these would be pages up here, and these would be pages here, all the subtopics. And the thing is, these subtopics would be like the child of the parent. So it's a page, and it's a subtopic of the main topic. Now, when you get into it, you do this very specific linking idea, and I'm showing you this because it'll help you understand how I arrived at my current interlinking, plan, which is just to interlink all over the place. You'll see that in the silo structure, just by the definition, they being us, you would like link very deliberately to and from each of the posts in the fashion that I've noted here. I didn't put all the arrows because it would be hard to see this, but these are the main sort of links that you would see. Now, what we need to take away from this is you get the benefit because the links are there, not because it's a parent or a child. You get the benefit because the links are there. So what you need to do is link back and forth all over the place. So you don't need to, I publish everything as a post, right? I don't do any pages. I don't do any of the siloing anymore, right? You don't get the same benefit as you may have in the past. So really all you need to do is interlink all over the place on your site, okay? So if it's relevant, if you can link from a relevant post to another post that's related to it, that's the best case scenario. But even if it's not related, that's okay. You can still link to it and get, the positive benefit of having a link. These are great because they are links that you can control. You control the anchor text, you can control how many you have, and you could change them when you want to. So just remember, it's not about the silo. It is really about interlinking through your site and doing it in a deliberate way. Next, this is starting to get into external links. So we're going to do blog commenting. So people will tell me that blog commenting is a waste of time. Okay, so I'll go ahead and answer that right away. They are no follow links. So much like our social profiles, these are no follow links the majority of the time, like 99% of the time. That's okay. because we're doing blog commenting so that we can later get a guest post on the site. So this is literally a networking exercise. That is all it is. You are trying to make friends with influencers in the niche or a related niche, and that's all you're trying to do. Sure, you can get a no follow link, which is fine. My belief is it's still good to have no follow links, right? It's part of a healthy backlink profile. It's just normal, right? So when you look at like big bloggers, you'll see that they basically read other people's blogs and they go ahead and comment on other people's blogs. Because a lot of times, even high-level bloggers, right, they're friends with other bloggers and they read each other's blogs and they comment on them. It's a supernatural thing to have, and it's not weird, right? So it's totally fine. The other part is it adds to your backlink diversity, which is a good thing, right? So you can get like more referring domains from different IPs, and it just looks healthy versus like the alternative, which is, private blog networks, which we'll talk about in a moment. So you can learn more at nichesiteproject.com/blog-commenting. So, or if you like search on YouTube, you can find that too. And I go through, I think it's like a 5-minute video of how I find blogs to comment on. The key thing, right? So you got to remember, don't search for the same like search strings that everyone else is searching for, and don't try and comment on your competitors' like niche site. It's not going to get approved, right? You need to go to like non-competitive sites. You need to go to maybe not directly to your like industry or your niche. Go like one step over. So I'm just going to make one up. Like if you have an outdoor site or something like that, like Outdoor Gear Lab, maybe you don't like target outdoor niche sites. Maybe you go to, a very specific genre of like outdoor enthusiast, maybe hunting. It's like hunting season here. I'm not a hunter myself, but a lot of people are very excited about hunting here in Montana. And, if you go to hunting blogs, they're not as like, they're not going to be your direct competitors. So it's a lot more likely that you may be able to network with them. And that's just like one example, but like no matter what your niche is, like you should be able to find some related industries which are relevant. I'm going to pause to just have a sip of water here because I want to be able to talk throughout. Okay, next is guest posting. So guest posts are natural. They are very, they're just very natural. They're recommended by, high level like marketers, and they work, right? You do need to like keep some things in mind. And basically with a guest post, you're able to get like the best kind of link you can get, which is a contextual link, like in the body, not in the bio line, and, not like in the footer or some kind of weird area. You get it in the content, and that's the best way to go. Now, the thing is, you got to have good content on your site, right? So you can't put up like some kind of bad, crappy post that some, writer that you hired from Fiverr like wrote 1,000 words on some topic and it's like pure affiliate stuff. You actually have to have like a good, solid post. Like if it's really long and really thorough, that's going to be helpful. And people will leave the links in to your affiliate content if it's good, right? So it has to be good. And really a guest post is the perfect step after you do your blog commenting. So you maybe comment on someone's blog a couple times, maybe you shoot them an email or two, like they'll know who you are, right? Not a ton of people comment on blogs. I have a blog, and like if you comment like more than once, like I'll remember who you are. And if you do like intelligent comments where it shows like, you did something with the material, or you read it and you now have like an intelligent question about it, or you send me, some information about like you implementing what I've talked about, I'll totally remember it. Like that goes a long way. If you, like, to go back to the blog commenting, if you leave a comment which is clearly something like you didn't read, sorry, my phone is blowing up here. It's driving me crazy. Somehow I've ended up on a list, so I'm getting a bunch of telemarketing calls. Sorry, it is silent now. So the thing is, if you leave a comment like, hey, great post, really enjoyed it, I know you didn't read it. So avoid stuff like that and kind of go a little deeper. So these guest posts are natural after you do the blog commenting, and basically you can link to your other guest posts too and do like a link building, like a tiered link building structure with your guest posting. Okay. So, and I will mention that guest posts can take, a little bit longer for the link juice to kick in, because a lot of times those are like almost 100% of the time, they're newly published posts. So that post is coming in with like 0 backlinks, right? And if you can link build, like if you could link build to your old guest post, that's a very good thing, because it turns out no one else is going to try and link build to your guest post other than you. So you should probably take a look at doing that. Moving on to a gray hat tactic. Again, I don't do these Web 2.0s, but here are some of the pros. Now, they are separate blogs hosted on different platforms like WordPress.com, or like you can get like a Wix or Weebly. There's a few different options that you have for these Web 2.0 blogs. Actually, there's probably like a few dozen of them. You control the links 100%, right? They're your blog. And the key thing here is to like make the site look real. Otherwise, it's probably going to get marked as spam, and they're going to like just disable your account and it'll go away. Now, the cool thing, since you control it 100%, you can put in the exact anchor text that you want and or need. So it can be an effective way to like diversify your anchor text. So you can use like, the naked URL or the brand name of your site. So you can get brand anchor text going to your site. Now, the bad part is basically these sites have like no authority. Sure, the DA is there, but you really are not getting any like real authority from the page. So it's not very powerful. Now, a service like the Hoth, and there's several other like it, but a service like the Hoth, they power up their Web 2.0 blogs that they set up for you with their own network. And that sort of shelters you from being attached to like that network, which they're probably not very good sites, right? These are like the second tier of links, and they're not that great, but they power up your Web 2.0, which is good. And most likely you're not going to be able to like rank #1 just with like Web 2.0 blogs, but it's a nice way to get like some links. You get referring domain or more referring domains, and you get anchor text diversity, those are all good things. Now, the big con here is your site can get penalized, right? Like if you do this in a too aggressive fashion, if you're too aggressive about it, say with anchor text, you can get penalized. If the network somehow gets discovered or de-indexed, like your site directly maybe won't get impacted, maybe you won't get penalized, but like if tier 2 gets penalized or de-indexed, then the power of that Web 2.0 blog just goes away, and then your rankings could drop. Now, again, I don't think you're going to be ranking #1 with Web 2.0 blogs alone. Next, number 6, private blog networks. This is gray hat again, so I don't do this, but I know personally that a lot of people do. And they are private blog networks. That was the reason my sites got penalized back in the day, multiple times. I was using PBNs, and back in the day, we were really aggressive about it. So we were very aggressive with anchor text. We were really aggressive with other areas of just sharing links and that sort of thing. So we left huge footprints, and a lot of us got penalized. It was very sad. It was very sad for everyone. Of course, the big benefit is you're getting links that are powerful. You're getting links from domains that have a lot of backlinks pointing to them. So you don't have to do that like secondary tier of link building, and you can get a link directly from the homepage and just like go from there. It can be really effective. Now, the thing is, depending on a number of factors, right? It may or may not be faster than a guest posting like white hat campaign. The misconception I think that people have is that you can get, like you could start a new site. It sounds like a lot of people do have like newer sites under 12 or 6 months in age. And there's a misconception that you can like launch a new site, buy your links, and then skip the sandbox period, which is usually around 6 months. And there's a little bit more growth after that. I haven't found that to be true. I've interviewed about a dozen like very successful niche or authority site people, and using the general format that we're talking about today, the general plan that we're talking about, it takes about 6 months or so, give or take, 6 weeks, but about 6 months to hit your first $100 month. So it takes some time for sure. Now, within a year, you could be at $2,000 or $5,000, depending on a number of things. How hard you work on it is probably the number one. And then search volume, the number of posts, the price of the product, a lot of factors. But the point is, if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to get private blog network links and rank my site faster, it's probably not going to go as fast as you think. White hat and gray hat for a brand new site basically seems to take about the same amount of time. Okay, so the downside for PBNs are obvious, hopefully, but the penalties, right? So your site can get penalized, and you could work on a site for like a year, and then it gets penalized, and your $250,000 site is now worth basically nothing, or like $1,000, and it can literally happen like that. I think all internet marketers have some story where they were making, $500 a day, and then they got penalized and the revenue went to zero. So I have that story. I know a lot of other people do too. It's super sad. And I mean, I don't have the stomach for it, which is why I don't do this gray hat stuff anymore. Now, the other part is it can be expensive, right? So if you like the punishment and you like to, manage a network, you can set up a PBN yourself. It doesn't have to be super expensive. If you're trying to build a powerful, network, you're probably going to have to buy your sites from or your domains from auctions, and it could be, fairly expensive. Now, the other part is it's just a pain in the butt. Like, it's not very fun to run a network. It can be a little exciting at first, but at some point it becomes like factory work that's boring, except you're sitting at a computer. And my guess is you probably don't want to you probably don't want to sit at your computer all day and like update plugins on 50 different domains that you're managing and make sure your sites are up to date and add content to it. Like, we don't want to be factory workers sitting at our computer. We probably want free time. So the point is, if you're going with PBNs, you may just want to like outsource it and buy your links from someone, or pay to rent the links. One of my friends, Matt Diggity over at Diggity Marketing, that may be a good network to get into, right? It's locked down pretty tight. Matt's very, he's sort of on the cutting edge of like keeping networks safe. So if you're looking for, PBN links, I would make sure that you are like not going for the cheapest stuff, and make sure that you know who you're working with. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. So either it's going to be complicated and boring to set up your network, or it's going to be expensive to rent the links. There are no shortcuts, folks. So it's just, you got to either put in the time, you put in the money, or, you put in the, the sweat, but there's no like actual shortcut here. Okay. Bonus. to be quick about this. Scholarship outreach. Who has done a scholarship outreach campaign before? Just curious. Now, I will mention that they were hugely popular starting probably like 18 months ago, and that was a bit of a resurgence, by the way. The thing is, like the scholarship outreach stuff, as soon as I started doing internet marketing and SEO in 2013, this was one of the tactics I heard about. But a lot of the folks that I was like learning from, they were like, I don't have the money to pay $500 or $1,000 to award the scholarship. And, I don't want to email all the people. My site doesn't look good. There's like a million excuses. However, there's an interesting case study by someone like a little while back. I can't remember his name, but I'm sure someone knows of this one. But he like ranked a site, he said, solely on like scholarship outreach. I think you may find other things if you go research it a little bit deeper, but basically you find a scholarship page, and well, I listed out here really clearly, but you find a scholarship page, you look at some other niche sites out there, and then like listed on the scholarship page, and then you can pull the backlinks from your favorite backlink crawler like Ahrefs or Majestic, and then after that, well, it's a matter of just emailing the people and announcing that you have a scholarship. That's it. Like they are looking for scholarships and they want to list your scholarship. All you have to do is make sure your site looks good. You got to be prepared to pay, right? You got to pay for these. You got to pay for these scholarships, right? So there's fraud and other legal issues if you're not paying it. So I've paid I think like 3 scholarships over my time. Working on other projects and stuff. And I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know if you get a big bump from this. Now, my thought is it's probably good to have, a few, 3 or 4 links from edu domains for that diversity and that added authority. But I don't know that you can like get those, I don't know that you can get those like links and really rank a site just from edu links. So basically the most important thing to remember here, and I've seen people do these scholarship campaigns and not do this, the most important thing after you email and get the links to your site and stuff like that, you got to make sure you have your most important URL on the scholarship page as a link, so you pass the link juice to the page you're trying to rank. Now, don't get greedy, right? Don't try and link to 5 or 6 other pages. Just link to one page that you're trying to rank, pass all the link juice there, okay? And I think it could be, if you don't have any edu links, it could be a nice thing to do to give your site a little push and a little bit more authority. So I see a lot of questions and comments were coming through, so that's totally cool. Oh, and by the way, Alikesh mentions it's 10 Beast over there for the scholarship outreach. And if anyone wanted to look, you can see what they did there. And, my take is after the gentleman that created 10 Beast and worked on 10 Beast published his case study, a lot of people just reverse engineered and implemented what he did. And guess what? Whenever some tactic or strategy gets abused like that, the effectiveness goes down. It sort of equalizes the playing field and then people lose the advantage. So it's just not as effective. All right. There's no pitch in this, right? You can't buy anything at the end of this webinar, but I do want to make sure everyone is aware of 5-Figure Niche Site. It's launching in a few weeks. It's my premium course on starting a niche site. It is 13 units long. There's something like 80 plus videos in it. There's, various levels. If you want to work with me one-on-one, you have an option to get that. That is a very limited, number of spots. And this is, the course that I do. You can see there's Dave there. Here's just, sort of the product screenshot. And there's, like I said, a lot of videos. It's dripped out over time so that you can work through it at your own pace, and it's structured so that you will do the work. So the best course in the world is worthless if you don't do the work. And this course is structured using, the project management and the principles and techniques and strategies that I've used myself and that I've coached, dozens of other people to, create sites as well. And, all the, tactics and strategies and things that are in the course are curated, right? You can get tons of information from my blog. You can go to, Authority Hacker, Niche Pursuits, and, Cloud Living, all these other places to get information. And it's confusing, right? There's even more on YouTube. Like my YouTube channel is like just filled with content, but there's a lot of value in just telling you exactly what you need to do and removing all of the noise. So a lot of that like comes out through the course. And again, my framework of like project management really helps refine, the actions that you do, and it's really distilled down. So I just want to make sure everybody knows about it, even though there's no real pitch for this course right now. You can't buy it. Not yet. Okay, so cool. Let's get to Q&A, and it looks like my Q&A slide didn't paste it over. So, all right. I see we got a lot of questions. I'm going to see what we got here. Okay. And I'm just going to like try and get to the beginning. And yeah, so if you have questions, now's the time. I'm just going to go through the queue, start asking questions now. It's best if it's related to what we're talking about. Okay, if it's SEO related, that's better. If it's not related, I'll still answer. I always answer all the questions. It's just if it's relevant, then I'll give a longer answer. Okay. Blake asks, are there any affiliate YouTube channels I recommend? You'll wait for the interviews, but you want to check out the Digital Nomad channel for sure. Cool. So as far as like affiliate marketing, not really. So I look at, right now I'm into like Gary Vee quite a bit, which I could probably do a whole like video on my impressions of Gary Vee, because I didn't like him very much at first, but like I bought one of his books recently, right? So I've found value in what he's doing quite a bit. And then the Digital Nomad channel, it's a woman named Zoe Ariel, which is her YouTube channel, and she has a different take. She's much more on like the motivational side, and she has some like minimalism stuff, and she has some digital nomad stuff. But we have a very interesting overlap in audience, and I just emailed her to connect, and I was like, hey, I want to interview you. So I'm probably going to have that edited pretty soon, but she's great. She's super like smart and motivated, and she's done like super well on her channel. So I think, she's worth checking out. There's a couple of others in the digital nomad area. And the super interesting part is like my audience, it is a majority like male, and her audience is majority female. So it's a really interesting overlap and like a different audience, a different approach to things. And she's like moving into like, more on the author side, because she has like a book deal and stuff. So anyway, check out Zoe's channel. She's really, she's super likable. She's really likable, and she does a good job like pulling people in and just publishing content consistently. And she's a great example, by the way, of the grind of like working through it. So she has something like 75,000 plus subscribers right now. And she started her channel about a little over 2 years ago. Now, the thing is, she published over 100 videos before she got 1,000 subscribers. And like, she went through the grind. Like, she was like tenacious and like really going after it. So, okay, Shade asks, please, what is the implication of using .info or .net? Are they totally not a no-go area? No, it could be fine. You may see like a slightly higher like click-through rate on the .com, and I'm speaking only, I'm like repeating what I've heard. So I haven't actually tested it, but in general, I've always gone for a .com. But if you want to use like a like something else, it's probably going to be okay. There's a lot of different like TLDs you could use. And I'll tell you this, the success or failure of your site is not going to be related to whether you use a .info or .net. Okay, Dimitri asks, do multiple profiles from Facebook work as one link or multiple links? Those will be multiple links, but a lot of times you'll get like diminishing returns from like multiple links from the same domain. But in general, I would say that there's another area of complexity here. So I think if you had, let's say you just set up like one profile on Facebook and you had a link back to your site. Okay, so that's just one link. But let's also say Tim Ferriss shares your blog to all his fans and like thousands of people click on it and you get a bunch of traffic through that one shared link, which is also no follow that Tim Ferriss shared. I think you get value from that because so many people followed the link. How can you quantify it? I don't know. How can you plan it? I have no idea. But if you actually had a link on Facebook or some other platform doesn't matter. If you had some link on the social channel that like thousands of people followed, I bet that's going to help, right? It makes sense that it's going to help. All right, so Blake had a question about silos, but I answered it later. So yeah, it's really the interlinking. It's not the structure. Okay. Alkesh mentions using a PBN and saying you're playing with fire if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, you really just have to know what you're doing. You could build your niche site on an expired domain and get some fantastic benefits if it's a good domain. But if you don't know how to do it, then, it's probably risky. You probably should avoid it. Yep. So Drifter mentions no one knows what PBNs are good. The good ones are not open for public, and that's true. And the thing is with like the really good networks, yeah, you can't get in. They're actually private and like people have them locked down. You can't buy your way into it. It's kind of an oxymoron, right? Private blog network, but it's public and you could buy links on it. So it's not actually private, but it's just, again, a branding thing. And let's see. Okay, moving on. Dimitri says, if you build your own PBN, how many separate blogs should the network contain? It depends. So you may only need, a few links. It depends on the terms. It depends on the competition, right? One of the reasons you can't answer this question like with any degree of certainty is like it matters what the other competitors are doing and their links and how many searches like the terms get and a variety of other factors. If you're just asking me how many should you start off with, I would say like 15 or so. It'll take you some time to set them up and all that. And then after that, I mean, at some one point I had like 70 domains, right? So I had 70 domains and I was partnering up with people that had, 30, 40, 50 domains also, and we would share links. Don't do that, by the way. That's how you get your network uncovered, set a big footprint like that. But basically, you can do really well with, a handful of domains. The more competitive it is, the more domains you need. right. Da, 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 da. Okay. And Drifter mentioned that 10 Beasts was a site, but Charles Float, that wasn't his site. He just happened to cover it. He just happened to talk about it because it's an interesting story. Blake asks, what do I think about forum links? Those are fine. You have to put the time in there. That's another like networking area. You'll probably have to do several posts before you can actually put a link in. But if you put in the time, those can be effective. As far as content syndication links, I don't think those are super helpful. Basically, here's what you could look at. If you can get links for free and like everyone else can get them, they're not going to be as good. You're probably not going to be able to rank with those alone. Could they help? Yeah. Can you get like some, referring domain diversity? Sure. You could make your anchor text diversity better, but you're probably not going to be able to like syndicate your way to number one. All right. And I saw some chat stuff going on with Drifter and Dimitri about the contacts of sellers. So I'm not through the chat yet, but if you listed contacts on here, whoever, can you delete them? I would prefer not to have this forum as like a platform for like buying links. So if you want links, you go find them. I'm sure you can find them if you look. Okay. All right. Looking here. Gabriel says, for low competition keywords, say KC below 30. Okay, by the way, the KC stat is garbage, so don't use it. Okay. I know a lot of people will tell you that it's really good, but pay attention. They're probably affiliates for Longtail Pro. Okay, so the KC number that's the keyword competitiveness number, is not a very valuable stat. Okay, so your question is, I'll just go with it. So let's say it's a low competition keyword with a KC value under 30. Will blog commenting, 2 guest posts, a single Hoth package be able to rank? I don't know, but why don't you try it and then let me know. So I would say it depends on the guest post. I think it probably depends on the guest post and how good they are. The thing is, not all guest posts are created equal because some sites have like a huge variance in the authority, the amount of traffic they could drive to your site and all that. But yeah, this is super specific question there. Okay, and Blake mentions you wouldn't recommend scholarship outreach, you would do a guestographic outreach instead. So Blake, have you done both of those to be able to say which one's better? Just curious. I'm not like pointing you out specifically, but it's just a good example, right? Like if you haven't done both, then you're only talking about like things like second or third hand. So it's really hard to like say what's right or not if you haven't done both of them like multiple times. And here's the key, you have to be able to repeat it. Okay. So a lot of times people will publish case studies. They're like, hey, I did this one thing and it worked this time. It's just one case study. It's an N of 1. There's not that much value in it. You have to be able to not only like do it again yourself, but like have other people repeat it. It's just the scientific process, right? Like that's how it works. Like if you just do it one time, it's not that valuable. So, okay. Alakash says, with all the Google updates, do I think the KGR will be working? I don't know. You mean just take an example, you say best safety knife for blah, 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 and it's ranking, which is great. However, you want to target best safety knife later on, but you think you'll cannibalize. You think Google is looking for more topics and they're doing it well. We don't know what Google's going to do. So it's really hard to say. It seems like the KGR is working pretty well and has been for the last at least a couple years. The thing that makes it work and gives it longevity is it's manual. It's pretty hard to find. Google literally like tries to prevent you from doing all in title searches, which is critical for the keyword golden ratio. So if you're asking me, do I know if it's going to be working in the future? I don't know, but there's like manual stuff built in Google to make this slow. So that makes it valuable. And it turns out finding like a keyword golden ratio term is slightly difficult, right? Some people struggle with it, but once you figure it out, it's still not easy to publish a great deal of content. Now, as far as cannibalizing and stuff, yeah, it's a risk, but what you could do is like publish the content that you're going to publish. And then once Google like provides you with results, you can adjust, right? It's pretty easy to adjust. I have a whole training video on what to do for keyword cannibalization. And, you know, Alakesh, you can, you know, just test it out yourself and see what happens. That's the only way to know. Okay. Randy says, what business structure do you set up for your sites? Me personally, I have a corporation. I file as an X Corp. That is pretty standard. I'm not an expert in it, so consult your tax professional or whatever. Caesar says, if I don't want to risk with PBNs, then can I still rank page 1? Yep, you can rank number 1 for terms. Mike says, what sort of system do you keep up with internal linking, like where you have linked to or not? Google Sheets is what I use, so I just keep track of it there. Bobby says, how do you figure out which post to try and rank? How many do I work on at a time? So usually, right, there's 2 different areas. If you have a brand new site that doesn't have that much content on it, then you probably should pick like a medium competition term that you think you could rank in like 4 to 6 months, like something that's tolerable for you and your budget. So if you have a bigger budget, maybe you can go after a more competitive term, or maybe you're really able to focus and you know that you can work on like a more competitive term for like 10 or 12 months without like ranking number 1. Or if you're more impatient, like most of us are, you may go for lower competition keywords and then focus on those. Now, if you have a big site, you have a lot of posts, what I would recommend is go to check what posts are close to ranking number 1, but not quite. So we're talking like things that are ranking number 2, 3, 4, something like that, like pretty close, and then focus there. Here's the reason why. You can't do everything. You can't focus on all your posts. You can only focus on a certain number of them. So if you prioritize them and say, go after the posts that are ranking number 2, or one post that's ranking number 2, try and optimize it, try and add internal links to the page, try and do some social sharing around it, and try and get more traffic to that page. If you have an email list, maybe you send an email out so that people can go to that page. Then you focus on that one, and then you can move your way down. So that's how I would prioritize it. Bobby says, what's a reasonable number of guest posts to try and aim for in a week without getting a massive headache? Try and get 1 per week. And then once that's easy, you can do more. Headaches, I don't know. You may still get headaches after that. Paul says, are there any issues about having URLs different from the titles? No, not that I know of. I haven't done like any real like testing or case studies on that, but I think that's okay. Bobby says, you don't reference social media outreach for traffic. Should we just set a profile and occasionally post, but not spend too much time on it? Obviously, time is a premium. Okay, here's the deal with that. If you enjoy a certain like social channel, spend time on it, do it. I don't typically. So I don't like try and stay out of Facebook. I kind of like Instagram a little bit more right now because I like pictures and movies, and it is like slightly more, slightly less distracting. But basically, if you enjoy some social media channel, do that one. I do virtually like no like social stuff otherwise. So like, I just personally enjoy Instagram, but I don't do anything for Instagram for any of my sites. Shant asks, is it a good idea to buy an auction domain for $200 to $800 and build a site to rank faster? Yeah, if it's a good domain. Randy says, how much do I think having a strong Google profile impacts SEO for local rankings? I haven't done any local rankings, so I'm not sure, but I would expect Google appreciates that you have like a Google profile, but I'm not sure. Randy says, what's the value of links to Quora? Probably from Quora. I don't know. It's probably like, if you can get some traffic through it, then it's probably, there's some value. As far as like actually getting like a boost from it, like SEO boost and rankings and stuff, I don't think it's probably going to be a huge factor. If you get traffic through it, like all of these, like I said, if Tim Ferriss like answers a question on Quora and then like put your link in it and a lot of people follow it, that's probably going to help. Okay. But if no traffic's coming through the link, probably not going to help that much. Drifter says, what are my thoughts on if this, then that? I think it's a waste of time. I have seen like some small case studies from people that I trust that said they got like a tiny boost from it. But my thought is anyone that is really like pushing it, they are selling you a service or they are an affiliate for a service. So at all times, remember, if you're hearing these case studies and then there's an offer on the back end of it, usually you have to, think about the incentives of the person that you're getting information from. So like if someone's selling you something, then you have to question their data. But overall, yeah, I say if this, then that probably is not worth it as far as an SEO like aspect. If you're talking about like actually automating stuff, then probably there's some good tools there. Anchor text diversity from Bobby. How do I recommend doing that for outreach and guest posts? Just use different anchor text. Not sure what you're asking exactly, but I just use like keyword rich anchor text that is like long phrases. Okay, and then Drifter, I see your note about the contacts. Thank you. By the way, thanks for noting that. Just wanted to, it's hard to keep up with the chat. So, okay. Bobby says, if I don't recommend Longtail Pro, who do I recommend instead? Right now, I like Keyword Keg. And, to be fair, I haven't used Longtail Pro in a little while, but at some point, like the service got really poor. The reliability of the app got really bad. I think it's a cloud version now, and the KC value, the keyword competitiveness value, is a value that everyone has, right? And it doesn't seem to hold true, right? It's based on the authority and like trust flow and a variety of different metrics from different tools, everything of which is an estimation. So you're getting like multiple estimations from multiple sources, and it's just not it's not as good of a gauge as it was when it came out like 4 years ago or 5 years ago when the KC number came out. Okay. For the keyword golden ratio, this is from Drifter. Should your topic and URL for the KGR be the same? If so, is it okay to have the title and URL? Yeah, that's fine. So, yep, that's fine. You could have the topic and the URL. That's cool. Okay, Ashish asks how to do SEO for business directory website. I don't know. I've never done that before. I would say you should probably like put together, here's how I would do it. I haven't done it before, but I would pull together the business directory, right? So you have like a good resource of businesses or for people looking for whatever business it is. And then after that, you have to go tell people about it. So you need to tell people, hey, I have a great resource here. It's a business directory for blah, blah, blah. And then ask people to link to it because it's a good resource. Bobby says, so social media won't really help our sites in post. From a link building perspective, probably not. If you actually have like a social following and get traffic via social, that could be helpful. But from a pure SEO, like link building perspective, not really. Bobby says, what about if this, then that for automating tasks? Yes, that could be very useful depending on what your needs are. I haven't done anything with that, by the way. Drifter says, Google Quora, and they are no follow links, by the way. Yep. And Drifter says, okay. And Drifter clarifies if this, then that. You meant like if you post content on your blog, then it gets posted to Blogger and Tumblr and Twitter. No, I don't think that helps. It's just like syndicating your content around, and it is basically like not super helpful, I don't think. Now, I haven't done it before, but as I mentioned before, in SEO and in life, like you get what you pay for. And if it's like some like, you know, tactic like this that anyone can go and like implement and set up, then it's probably not that useful. And if it's useful for a short time, I'm sorry, if it's useful at first, if a lot of people do it because it's free, then Google, in this case, may make it like not effective anymore and like not recognize those links, and it's just not useful. So, I mean, you'll notice the theme of my outline. I keep hitting this pop screen here. You'll notice the theme of the plan, and it's basically take a long-term approach and take your time with it. And if you want to get good links, you got to put the time in, build the relationship, try and get the links that other people can't get. So, you know, in a lot of cases, if someone looked at like my backlink profile, like for Niche Site Project, we'll say, they can't go and like steal my links. They can't look at my backlinks and then go guest post at Empire Flippers or Ahrefs, right? They can't like hop on to, you know, they can't just like go email someone and like copy my backlinks. It's fair to note, like I'm not ranking a ton for like a bunch of stuff for Niche Site Project, which is interesting, but I haven't like done link building for it. I haven't done intentional stuff. It's just an area where I'm documenting, sharing information and stuff like that. But the point is, like, if someone looked at my backlink profile for Niche Site Project, they couldn't just like hire a researcher to find email addresses and then send email addresses and try and get those guest posts. The point is you should try and do that for your niche site, which works way better as far as ranking because it's less competitive than internet marketing. Internet marketing is like so competitive and it's very hard to rank for like the terms that I rank for. The few that I actually rank for. So, okay, I think I got to the end of the questions here. Randy has to go. Thanks for attending. Appreciate it. So we still got like 20 people on. What other questions do we have here? And I hope, I'm not sure if everyone is subscribed to my YouTube channel, but I would appreciate it if you like go take a look over there. If you're not subscribed, go have a look over there. And there's just a ton of free videos and stuff like that. Okay. Drifter says Niche Site Project will be one-time payment. I'm not sure what, oh, okay. You're asking about 5-figure niche site. Yeah, so there are payment options and a one-time payment. If you pay all up front, then it's cheaper. It's like a 15% discount, something like that. Okay, Ashish says, what kind of SEO activities are mainly important for the e-commerce website like Amazon.com? No idea. I have no idea what, you know, Amazon does for SEO activities? Probably almost nothing. Okay, cool. Paul says, is voice search changing search queries? That, I don't know. I have a feeling, I listen to, or I watch a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk, and he is talking a lot about, voice and voice being really big. So my gut is to say, yeah, it probably will. It'll be like more natural English. How it's affecting search queries, I'm not sure. It probably brings us more long tails, right? More KGR terms, which is good for us, right? And Shant, yep. Thanks, Drifter. So Shant answered your question already, but I'll answer it again. Is it a good idea to buy an auction domain for $200 to $800 and build a site to rank faster? Sure, yeah. That could be really helpful because, it's an established domain. Now, the thing is, if you're asking that question, it may mean you don't have a lot of experience buying auction domains. I could totally be wrong. But the thing is, you want to make sure it's a good domain. You want to make sure it's clean, of course, no spam in the past. And you want to make sure that it was never like de-indexed or anything like that. There's a lot of stuff to consider. But yeah, if you have the money to drop, you should get an established domain. So, all right. Cool. And one thing I'll do for the people that hung around for this long, I have like several like free trainings out there on the YouTube channel. So what I can do is find a couple for you that are kind of related to some of the topics that we talked about today. So I'm going to try and find one real quick here. Although it looks like YouTube like sort of changed like the view that I had. Sorry, folks. I thought it was going to be a little easier to find here. But really, I want to find the live streams. Okay. Actually, I'll post a different one and you hopefully will find it interesting. Here's one that seemed to do pretty well in the last couple weeks here. Okay, and this video that I'm posting here is basically, is it too late to get started with Amazon affiliate marketing? So I talk about it there and let you know about like my thoughts and that sort of thing. So leave me a comment over there, like it, and share it if you find it really interesting. Give me a thumbs up and all that stuff. But anyway, any other questions before we jet here? I want to make sure answer everyone's question. Cool. And don't forget, if you want to ask more questions, I do a live stream on Friday. So, subscribe to the YouTube channel and there's a little like bell, right? So if you click the bell and say you want to get notifications, then you'll be notified when I go live. It's very important if you want to ask me questions live, and then you can do it. So I'm going to do it tomorrow, same time as today. And yeah, thanks, Jer, for the nice hat. Sometimes, here in Montana, it gets cold. Sometimes my head gets really cold, so got to take care of that. And Paul, appreciate it. Jack, everyone, thanks for joining up. It was a good call today. Everyone have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow. See you later.